Welcome back, everyone. We are here with the Gurus on Reality podcast reviewing Survivor today, the October 15th episode. And this is one where they did a tribe swap off the bat. And this season just took a massive turn. Mike, welcome in. And it's just one of these things where we'll get into it, but modern Survivor is so flawed. In this episode just exuded how ridiculous this game is becoming.
Yeah, but it's just a ridiculous. We'll get into the tribe swap thing. Finally, by the way, we get two tribes. You know, in the recent New Era seasons, we've gone from 3 tribes to 3 tribes. I think Jeff wanted to do that initially, but instead of 15 people, we had 14 people because obviously Jake's medevac. So he kind of had to go to 2 tribes because with 15 people, you can do 5, 5, and 5 and stick with 3 tribes. But instead, he went to 2, and they stuck someone on Kele's beach for God knows why.
And let's just get right into it. Let's get into these swaps here. So we have a new Hina tribe, which is the yellow tribe. So we have 1 former Kele, 2 former Hinas, and 4 former Ulis. So that is Sophie, Jason, Matt, Rizo, Savannah, Juwan, and Nate. And then we have a new Kele, again, the blue beach that was just completely ran down. The fact they made them go there feels kind of insane to me. Ridiculous. But that consists of 1 former Kele, 4 former Hinas, and 2 former Ulis. So the reverse there. So we have Alex, Steven, Christina, MC, Sophie, Shannon, and Sage. So basically,
it's 4-2-1 on both, basically.
It was 4-2-1 on both to start out. And basically what's happening here is there is still this, as we called it, a color war going on between these former tribes. You still have the Hinas versus the Ulis. And I thought perhaps that would change once we get these tribe shaken out. But the problem is, and I realized it as soon as they were picking buffs, I was like, wait a minute. Because both these tribes initially had 6 people and Kele only had 2, this was always going to be a problem. There's going to be a tribe where, or both of them were going to have these stacked numbers. It was probably never going to be even 3-3-1.
No.
And it was just going to cause immediate problems. And I think I'm not going to go as far as it ruined anything or whatever, because it's still so early in the season, and who we lost wasn't that big of a player, and we'll get into that way later. But regardless, just the fact of these people were in decent positions beforehand, and literally based off the buff they chose, now all of a sudden they're in such a
terrible position,
massive disadvantage. And what's upsetting to me is people will say, well, that depends on your social game. There's no good social game that could have happened here to save anyone on either tribe. For the most part, it was always going to be across color lines, at least immediately. And that to me is a flaw of the new season, because I think in prior seasons, if you start with 2 tribes, you either do the merge or you can swap amongst those 2 tribes. At least you'll have roughly like an equal number of people. So then the social game can be kind of put on blast, and you can really see who's really great at this game and not just in a good initial position. But now, if you look at Hina, what chance did Jason and Matt really have?
Nothing.
They didn't. No. It was apparent immediately. And even like there was a split second, maybe Matt was able to get something going. It was just TV fodder. There was nothing really there. Right. So my question to you off the bat is like, this has to change next season and going forward, right? Because this, to me, it was an engaging episode because you got to see something like new per se. But to me, this was bad television. We knew it was going to happen immediately. And the ultimate kind of resolution didn't really matter much, because whoever wasn't voted out now is probably just the next person voted out anyway.
Yeah, and this is all the detriments to a 3-tribe format. Is, you know, usually you get a decimated tribe, and then you get these 2 color war tribes, and then it depends on luck. And a lot of Survivor is unfortunately just chance and luck and rock drawing. And some people got the short end of the stick, and they're in 4-2-1 minorities now. I thought the interesting thing, and I kind of want to get your take on this. You know, we had this happen once. I believe it was Survivor Palau or Guatemala, where a tribe got decimated. It was Stephanie and Bobby John, and they did a thing called absorption. I think it's called absorption. I could be wrong. Where they just kind of stuck them each on 2 different tribes. So they put 1 on one tribe and 1 on the other tribe, but they stuck those tribes together. So it would still be 6 yellow, 6 red, and then you have 1 on each. So you would still test those tribal lines. Now maybe those persons just get plucked off 1 by 1, but if there was a true like split in the division in the tribe, a division in the tribe, which we were kind of seeing a little bit in red with Juwan on the outs a little bit. Now he gets off scot-free because he's now in the 4 majority. So, of course, for him, there's no reason to go against your core 4. But in the tribe of 6, where he was kind of on the outs, that swing vote might have been interesting. But I don't know. Maybe they could have done that. They could have stuck them both on one tribe each. Or I saw something else that someone said they could have done a schoolyard pick where it's like, hey, Alex and Sophie, your team was so trash this year. You're going to be the team captains. You're going to pick 3 Hina, 3 Uli, and it's going to be 3, 3, and 1. Now, that would have been an interesting dynamic because then at that point, Alex and Sophie are the true swing votes in that sense. And then maybe if you're in a 3, 3, 1, it's more likely that someone else would flip because they're not in a core 4 position. They're not setting pretty necessarily. They actually need a swing vote that they're relying on. So maybe they'd be more keen to flipping over to the other side. That would have been interesting. We didn't end up seeing that because both of these, like you said, are 4, 2, 1. So honestly, Sophie's vote didn't really matter, and Alex's vote wouldn't have mattered had they gone to tribal council. They didn't really need either of their votes because both of these tribes ended up having 4 core yellows or 4 core reds, and Uli and Hina in this case. So I think it's ultimately just a downfall of the 3-tribe format, which we've seen now for 9 seasons in a row now. It's just more evidence of it's not good, it doesn't work. So in terms of just the pre-merge, we can just go to 2 tribes and then see how it falls there. Because then when you do a tribe swap with 2 tribes, and they've done that in the past, it's more fluid. There's tribal lines that start to get blurred a little bit. With three tribes and this random rock draw stuff, you always get someone that gets these. And in this case, both tribes, it's a 4 core with both of them. So you're going to still get these obvious vote outs, which is not really making for good TV drama, obviously.
So I'll start with the first thing you said. I think absorption here would have been a disaster because I think the tribes were just too set in their ways. And I kind of understand it. I do. But at the same time, you can't make it to the final with 6 and feel good. Even if you like all the people there, someone has to be on the bottom. And I think that was kind of the pitch to Juwan later in the episode. Like, hey, man, like, it's very obvious you're at the bottom. Can you, like, maybe defect? And he thought about it maybe for half a second and was like, why would I do that? And in a 2-tribe format, that does make sense for Juwan, in my opinion. I do agree with that. He shouldn't have flipped. But if it maybe was, again, like the 2 original tribes and you just add Sophie, add Alex, then maybe Juwan sees, okay, if Sophie's out, then I'm just next anyway. Maybe I should get some faction going and try to go against the majority. So that would have been more interesting in my opinion, but I still think it just results in the same thing, and we're just kind of dancing around it. As for the schoolyard draft, I think that was an amazing idea. Whoever suggested that, and I'm sure a few people did. I think that's a much better idea. I think it would have led to way more drama. Who's getting picked first? Who's the last pick? Why are you picking this person? Why did this person not get picked where I thought they should get picked? I think that's way better. And given the fact that Sophie and Alex, I think, were decent competitors. Sophie was bad with the puzzles, but I thought she was great beyond that. And Alex really carried in some of the physical aspects of their competitions. They were hosed because, first of all, they had by far the least physical tribe of the bunch. I think that's very easy to spot out. They didn't have someone good at puzzles, so that immediately put them at a disadvantage. And then the Jake medevac, that kind of ruined everything they had going. They could have maybe won something. I doubt it again because it was a puzzle that held them up, but you never know. We can't make it definitive.
By the way, no puzzle today. No puzzle today.
No puzzle, and I thought that was way more enjoyable, by the way.
Much better challenge today, yeah.
But yeah, I think Sophie and Alex clearly got shafted. I think like it would have been very fair for Jeff to say, hey, you guys aren't going to be together anymore, but here is your advantage. And maybe this is probably a bridge too far. Maybe you say they're good for the first eviction. Maybe that's a bridge too far, but at least let them pick. I think that would have been great. But instead, we got what we got in. Again, as I've reiterated a few times here, the dynamics were apparent immediately on both. I think the new Kele had a bit more of a interesting dynamic because we'll just get into the Shannon Sage thing right now. Yeah. There's this weird beef between the two where Shannon was trying to distance herself from Sage. There's a lot of weird stuff back and forth with them. Yeah. Shannon was doing the breathing exercises again and talking about her spirituality. Sage, I saw people say Sage had a good read here. I completely disagreed. Sage is talking about how now all of a sudden Shannon's kind of leaning into the spirituality more because of the new people around her. To me, it was just because those people were taking to it better than the prior tribe. That's why she was talking more about it. I thought it was incredibly apparent. No one was asking Shannon these kind of like philosophical questions on her old tribe on Red. That was not a thing that was happening. So maybe she was leaning into it a little bit, but at the same time, when someone's asking you about something like that, you're obviously going to be more excited and apt to talk about it. For example, if we were on a tribe where no one talked sports, it would be really tough for us who are like these sports experts to try to like meet them in the middle somewhere and try to get a good conversation going. Whereas if we move to a new tribe and there was an ex NFL player and a, broadcaster, then all of a sudden we're talking way more sports because it's what we want to talk about and we lean into it more. So sure, some of it is definitely gameplay, but at the same time, that's just who Shannon is. Like we said some TikToks about Shannon back and forth a little bit here. Like that's just literally who she is. I think she was just leaning into that more, and I thought that was another like weird Sage read, literally just because she doesn't like Shannon, and that's okay. But I just thought that was a weird comment from her.
I think that this was performative. I think it's a little over the top.
You do think it's performative? I think she's just a performative human being as it is. I think that's my take.
Okay, but first of all, this is what this is she's in the minority. She's in the 2 versus 4 in this case. So
yeah, she's trying to latch onto anything she can,
which is gameplay. At the end of the day, that is gameplay. So Sage is right, where she's like, okay, she's now overperforming a little bit, where she didn't have to in red, but whether she didn't, again, that's maybe because they weren't receptive of it, or maybe it's because she was in the power position in Uli, and she is no longer in the power position.
It could definitely be a little bit of both. I think that's a fair assumption.
And I think they both on their confessional said it. It's kind of a her versus Shannon, or Sage versus Shannon thing, because we saw with Jason and Matt, it's like you're going to get picked off first. These core 4 Hinas are not going to stray away from each other. So if they go to tribal, are they going to pluck off Alex? Probably not. This is an obvious color war scenario cutting on here. So they're going to pluck off either Shannon or Sage, whoever they're not able to connect with the best. I mean, I know you saw Steven kind of say he connected a little bit with Sage. We saw Christina on the beach or on the sand there with Shannon kind of connecting there. So, it's going to come down to which Hinas connect better with Shannon or Sage. So I think Sage honestly is starting to play the game a little bit. She actually acknowledges that Shannon's maybe overperforming a little bit because she did spend the first 7 days with her on the Uli beat.
It's just going to be a tough pitch if she makes it. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be a really tough pitch to anyone else because at the end of the day, Shannon is like this clear, like theater over the top human being. Yeah. So like she's always performative. So her being maybe extra performative doesn't really mean much. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really mean anything.
I know, but the edit kind of suggested that she was, again, this is maybe just how they edited it, but she was talking
it could be that, yeah.
Like it was less gameplay necessarily, because remember we saw gameplay when she was talking to Savannah about Rizo chirping. Like she was actually playing gameplay as far as like telling Rizo, telling Savannah, telling Nathan. Now it's more like connecting with people she's trying to build her social game because she knows she's on the bottom. So that's fine, but it is a little bit overperforming as far as just what the edit shows. She's talking a lot about.
She has to doctorate herself within the tribe, though. That's my thing. Like she doesn't really have a choice to do anything else. I guess is my only take on the situation.
That's fine, but I saw people were saying it's like she's trying to do like the coach thing in Survivor South Pacific. I don't think it was that overperformative, but she's trying to connect with people, which is how you play the game. So I don't fault her for doing it, but I also don't fault Sage for pointing out that she is doing it because she is playing the game. I mean, maybe this is who she is.
Yeah, I mean, I hope everyone plays the game though, and the fact that we even have to talk about that's kind of a detriment to the modern game that we have to see in front of us. And we'll talk about the awful gameplay in a few minutes, but I want to get into the challenge here because I liked the challenge more and you hinted on it. It did not end in a puzzle. I really thought it was. I really thought it was as soon as I saw the blocks. And then all of a sudden, it was this thing where you had to kind of stack all these 20 blocks on top of each other. And when I initially heard that, I was like, that is incredibly stupid. But as the challenge progressed, I was like, okay, I see what's going on here. It got a little bit more interesting. Was it the best? Absolutely not. But it was still entertaining. I thought what was ridiculous was Jeff in this challenge. And here's why. I think Jeff might have cost Hina this challenge because he's yelling at them to get to the mat, right? And then he's like, do you need an invitation? He makes that ridiculous suggestion, even though he was telling them to get to the mat. And they didn't know if they were all on the mat, obviously, because Jeff is usually the one directing traffic. So yes, Jeff, you are usually inviting them, excuse me.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is usually what happens. So to suggest that you don't do that is incredibly weird to me. But it seemed like because Matt was in the front, they all thought like Matt had to go, which was a terribly ridiculous idea because of all the people on this tribe, you have Sophie, who's small and nimble. You have Savannah, who's small and nimble. You have Rizo, who's like a moderately decent athlete. You have Jason, who's probably, I'm not even kidding, pound for pound, the best performer on this entire season so far. When he just does things, it just happens. And we'll get to who maybe number 2 is in a bit because she balled out. I think we're thinking of the same person.
Yeah.
but they make Matt do it again. I think there's just some miscommunication if it had to be him or not. And then he's struggling because, again, it's just ridiculous to put him in that position. I just thought that was so blatantly unfair. It was annoying. And then Kele doesn't really, they think about it better. They have a better strategy. They have MC who dominates it, and then they're able to start quickly. The building block thing wasn't the best TV because it really was like the last three were interesting. But even then, when you're up by such a amount, what are you going to do? At least Hina was able to come back because Nate is a taller man. The fact that they had him, they were able to make up some quick ground. Rizo just didn't have enough of a wingspan to stack the blocks on top of each other. And MC just balls out again at the end. And I think this was the MC coming out party. We talked about it in the pilot episode. Her leap was unbelievable. She did look like a hooper there. Yeah. And then in this episode, she dominates the balance beam in quick succession. Again, maybe it wasn't as impressive because of who she was going against. We had to see someone maybe of at least moderate athleticism face her in that. Maybe it was just great in comparison, but her performance stacking the blocks was a big deal. And I think everyone noticed that she was balling out here, and I think she definitely increased her threat level, but she is the idol, or has a potential idol in her pocket. So.
Yeah, she's one of only, I believe, 3 other people to not even go to Tribal Council 1, so she's still undefeated. She really did smoke Matt on that balancing beam. I mean, they were pretty close until it got to the portion of, okay, you got to carry 5 blocks each across this balancing beam, and she didn't fall one time. I believe Matt fell about 2 or 3 times. So that's when they really separated themselves from Hina. The old Kele or the new Kele tribe. So she dominated that portion of the challenge. And then on the stacking challenge, I really thought that Hina would be able to catch up because you mentioned Nate is very tall. It felt like whoever's taller is going to be able to stack these easier kind of challenge. And it just boiled down to at the very end when, Kele had 1 block left and Shannon couldn't reach high enough. No one could reach high enough. They were standing on top of Alex's back. Everything. It was out of control. And then MC finally said, you know what? I have the best vertical here. Let me just dunk these last 2 home and just throw them up here. So MC was the hero for this challenge. I don't think Blue wins. I don't think Kele wins this without MC's obviously balancing.
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Away and then the very end to kind of close the deal because I believe that Hina was eventually going to come back and probably win that had it not been for MC. So I think MC right now, as far as the puzzles go, no one's beaten Jason in any of those. But as far as these physical challenges, whether it's balancing, whether it's endurance, whether it's whatever stacking, MC looks pretty. She looks like the full package here. I mean, this was. I'm feeling good about my pick. Is what I'm going to just brag about here because she's dominating these challenges now. Is she increasing her threat level? Yeah, probably. But if she keeps winning, she's going to find herself in majority when the merge happens. So I think this is ultimately fine. You don't want to lose these challenges when you're in a color tribe war. And right now, her one of her tribe mates did go home, but she never really trusted Matt as we talked about in the last episode. So not really a downfall for her. Really just a tough episode for the minority Hina players, which is, Jason and Matt, and they're standing in the group, and obviously they're, Matt's performance in the challenge.
Yeah, and again, Matt was bad, obviously, but I just thought it was an unfair position, as I mentioned. I just thought it was incredibly dumb, and I think Jeff had something to say about it. I think he influenced it. And again, it's just another week where Jeff Probst, being annoying as ever, kind of swaying some stuff. Do you need an invitation? Yeah, that's kind of how this works. You usually say go. You usually say keep going, whatever. That's just how it is. So his commentary is just really getting on my nerves.
Did you like the fake out? Did you like the fake out? It's like, hey, we have a tribe. We have a match here of two.
Yeah, you know what everyone thought was going to happen? A freaking tribe swap because there's 2 people in one tribe. So yeah, everyone knew that was going to happen. So awesome fake out, dude. Maybe if there was 3 people, maybe that would have worked. But even then, like, what are we doing? Again, it's all his quest to make prestige TV, but do it in such a meaningless way that it's actually offensive. But we get back to camp, and it's very apparent that Jason and Matt are at the bottom. And I think Savannah's commentary is really kind of entertaining to me. I thought it was just funny, where she kept just saying, it's ridiculous how Jason is just still going to bat for these former Hinas. And I thought, to me, I liked Jason a lot before this episode. I thought he had a good read on how Survivors played. I thought he was great at the competitions. He was like my sneaky, like, top-tier winner pick. And then in this episode, that kind of all went away because he had to have known his back was against the wall, and he just was digging in his heels. And to me, it was like he's trying to die in the sword. That's not admirable when you're playing a game where one person wins. It was just incredibly stupid strategy to me. At least Matt, his reads were brutal. He was trying to pull Jawan, which that was a good read. but the way he was doing it was he was trying to pull Juwan and Sophie and Jason and form this coalition to get out Nate. But before that, he was telling Nate and Savannah and Rizo to vote out Sophie. But he didn't clue Sophie in on that, seemingly through the edit. Sophie, especially at Tribal, didn't seem like she knew about any of that. So what ended up happening was it was this jumbled mess. Maybe if Sophie was down, and maybe if Jason was down, and they were able to pull in Juwan with Matt, and it was kind of this more coherent plan, maybe something happens. But because it was so half-baked, it was just out of control. And of all people, it felt like Nate was maybe a little receptive to Matt for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, Matt just keeps talking and talking and talking. And then Nate hears his name was being thrown out. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, you just were doing too much. And to think, he kept taking shots at Sandra and how she played the game. A 2-time winner of Survivor.
Yeah.
He didn't like how she played, but he's a pre-merge boot because of his terrible social game. Just unbelievable Matt performance here. I took him high. I thought he was in a good position early. And again, this modern Survivor didn't help him at all. But at the end of the day, he's the reason he got voted out, because I think the plan really was to get out Jason. I thought that was very apparent. And then Matt just did everything in his power to get himself voted out here.
I totally agree with you. I think that Jason being very cagey and kind of digging his heels in and being like, I'm going to die on the Hina sword. And, don't worry, when we get to the merge, I'll be able to make sure that Hina doesn't go after you guys. So it's like, guys, there's only 2 tribes left. You're going to have to go at each other. So at this point, whatever happened before you, and by the way, no one even went to tribal yet. So he doesn't actually know if he trusts Hina yet. He was kind of just backing his OG tribe when he doesn't even know if they were lying to his face the whole time or not, because they never went to tribal to kind of prove their trust. So I thought that was just a really bad read by him to kind of, go into this new Uli camp, basically. I mean, it's still the Kele camp, but it's 4 Ulis, and you're kind of not even offering yourself up. You're just being like, yeah, by the way, I have my OGs over here, which, like, once we get to the merge, we can kind of team up and run this thing. It's like, what?
But Mike, you know what's weirder? He's doing this when he knows there's a great chance of him or Matt going home. So now he knows he has less numbers. So why wouldn't you adjust? All of a sudden, then you have less numbers. Okay, I need to adjust. Particularly if Shannon's able to indoctrinate herself with Kele, which obviously he doesn't know about. But there's a chance someone turns on one of these yellows in the Kele champs. Way more than one of the Hinas turning on, or the Ulis, excuse me, turning on one of them in the new Hina. So there's just a lot of names here. It's confusing. But regardless.
By the way, I think he got very lucky that Matt kind of put his foot in his mouth. Because I do ultimately think that it was going to be Jason because of the way he was playing. And then I think Matt, and I kind of highlighted it a week or 2 ago whenever he was kind of overplaying a little bit with the strategy-wise.
With MC, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they showed a little bit of Matt's sloppy gameplay. I think this episode was a little bit worse because he ultimately was telling 3 different people 3 different things. So, and you gotta know that's gonna eventually get back to them.
What's the strategy there? I don't understand what he was trying to do, because it wasn't even like it just didn't work. It just didn't make any sense.
Through his own words, he did the journey with Juwan, so apparently he felt some kind of connection with Juwan. Again,
right, talking to him for 10 seconds.
10 seconds. By the way, Juwan put a hit out on your tribe, so he doesn't like you guys. Your yellows, he's not with.
Publicly, by the way, it wasn't like it was some secret thing. He admitted to it, like everyone knew.
You guys, yeah. Basically, he was like, "My tribe's coming after you guys." It's basically without saying it, he did that. So you kind of know whether he's on the bottom, which he is. Maybe Juwan doesn't know that, but obviously,
and I'm not so sure he is anymore after this. By the way,
exactly. That's totally right. He immediately goes and tells Nate, Rizo, and Savannah. So he's obviously sticking with Uli strong. So Matt obviously doesn't know that, and that's what got him out. But when Nate, who you're telling Nate, hey, anyone but me, it probably was going to be anyone but you. It probably was going to be Jason. And if you pitched the Sophie thing, maybe you had some standing there. Unfortunately, he pitched the Sophie thing to Savannah, who's obviously close with Sophie. So that wasn't going to happen. But he's like, yeah, pick off the week. Then he goes in a different direction, says, hey, I want to get out the kingpin that is Nate. And I do believe he's right. I do believe Nate's kind of running things along with Savannah. But they like Nate a lot. So that was just never going to happen. I think the only chance he would have had of saving himself would have been, unfortunately, turning on Jason or maybe gathering enough troops to be like, hey, should we just pick off Sophie? But that was never going to work.
You know what it would have been? And this would have been so simple. He acknowledged that Nate was the leader. And again, this is the Matt experience. He had some awesome reads, and then he had some terrible reads on how to go about what information he knew. He knew Nate was the leader. Here's what you do. You go to Nate and say, hey, man, I like your vibe. I like you a lot. We're 2 of the older guys here. I'd love to work with you. And then Nate goes to bat for you. And they already were kind of sussed out by Jason anyway. So all of a sudden, you at least save yourself a week. And then maybe, just maybe, the next episode, you're kind of screwed anyway. Maybe there's a pitch to try to save you over Sophie.
Sure.
Maybe then someone turns. That's what you have to do. You at least have to buy yourself one more week and then plant the seeds for beyond that. And doing that would have been going to Nate, who, again, you correctly perceived as the leader. It's just how he went about it was so infuriating.
Yeah, but you knew that someone had to get picked off from yellow in this episode. You knew that red had the power.
Yeah,
and they could not.
But you don't necessarily say, hey, it's Jason. You just go to Nate and say, hey, I'd love to work with you. Then it's implied that Jason is leaving. You're still somewhat of a loyal person because everyone understands that you're just trying to save yourself. At the end of the day, that is totally fine. But you're not kind of tossing all these people under the bus, which he did, despite what he thinks.
Yeah, by the way, the way that the edit was, it looked like Jason did not want to write down Matt's name, and all Matt had to do probably to show a goodwill of faith was just be like, yeah, I'll write down anyone's name that you tell me to write down. Instead, he wanted to go for a big move, which, correct or incorrect, making a big swing, whatever, he was never able to get any standing with Jawan that he thought he was going to get, because obviously Jawan immediately didn't even cross the mind for maybe 0.5 seconds, and he immediately ran and told Uli the plan to blindside Nate, so that didn't end up working. All he had to do, I think, to survive this one, he did have to just play if he just played like Sandra, he would have survived this episode, I think. If he just would have just not put his foot in his mouth and been like, whose name are we writing down? Tell me whose name to write down. I think he probably could have survived this episode, and it might have been Jason. So Jason, very fortunate, because I don't think Jason played this very well either. I think he was came off a little bit as like, I don't want to work with you at all. If Matt just came off as, hey, I want to work with you, the problem is he wanted to get someone out. He wanted to actually make a big move. And doing that, when that got back to Nate, when Nate hears, oh, snap, they're trying to get me out, maybe Matt's playing a little bit too hard. Maybe we should just vote Matt out. And that, I think, is when it's swayed, at least in the edit that they showed us. Maybe it was going to be Matt the whole time, but I think that's probably where he went wrong.
It definitely seems like, especially even at Tribal, Savannah was kind of subtweeting Jason the entire time. It really seemed like Savannah wanted him out. It seemed like Rizo was going to do whatever Savannah wanted. And then Nate was only so keen on getting Matt out because his name was mentioned. If that wasn't the case, they probably would have had a strong unit. It would have been a nearly unanimous vote without Jason's, obviously. Right. And that would have been that. So I think Matt just really cost himself here. But again, in a way, a product of the modern game, because if they're in a situation where these tribes are more balanced, maybe if there's only...
If it's 3-3-1.
3-3, maybe you get one person to defect either way, then it's interesting. But now it's just going to be a steamroll, probably on either side. So.
Oh yeah. By the way, if Jawan was in a 3 with Uli, and say it was Jawan and Shannon and someone else he doesn't really trust, then maybe you could have possibly swayed Jawan. But I think he likes we mentioned Savannah, Rizzo, Nate. Those are the three. He
clearly likes Rizzo. I think he respects Nate, and I think Savannah is just kind of
it's they're
perceived as too important right now for him to really go after. So
so I don't think there was any chance for Matt really to defect from that group. I think it's just a tough. He kind of got shafted with the luck of the draw in this case, and the rock draw. But yeah, I think this would have been a much more interesting, dramatic episode if it was 3-3-1 and then 3-3-1, and then you go to tribal and it's someone's a swing vote. And then, by the way, even if you can get a swing vote, maybe someone else flips and it's 4-3 that way. So maybe you pull in Sophie, but maybe Juwan flips and it's 4-3. So you could have got something like that. Ultimately, with the 4-2-1, and same thing with next episode. Like I honestly do believe that the old Kele or the new Kele will lose the next challenge, and they'll have to do the exact same thing. I think that's gonna. I think the way that they edited it's like they're giving this notion of a Sage versus Shannon showdown. One of them's gonna get picked off as the last two remaining Uli on that tribe. So the way that's the way they edited it, at least. And if they lose that challenge, it's probably going to be the same thing. I don't see them defecting anyone from yellow. Do you think that Hina would flip on any of them? And they don't really have to, especially when they don't have out.
No, I think they seemed more. They seemed more as a family unit, whereas the former Uli folks seemed more out of necessity. That's what it seemed like to me. But again, it's just so weird to me that there's no internal battling. I guess, especially now, there's no point. But beforehand, it was just really strange to me that no one was trying to make a move. Again, they didn't necessarily have to.
Yeah, but why would Jawan want to make a move at this point? If you're Jawan, because remember, Matt's pitch to him
Jawan, no. I was talking about the former Hinas on Kele right now. I feel like if you're Christina or Sophie, you're not in an awesome position at all. Not even close. I think MC and Steven are core two. They're clearly a duo.
And they have the
to me, it seemed like they're trying to bring Alex in an adjacent way, similar to how the new Hina brought in Sophie.
Yeah.
So I think those three,
those two guys, by the way. Yeah. By the way, the last remaining Kele, Alex, and Sophie really benefited from this tribe swap. You know, they're not.
Oh yeah, they were the biggest winners out of this. All I was saying was I think maybe MC and Steven can try to craft something up, especially when they see that Matt is gone, and they'll probably understand that Jason's just going to be next. So then you're going to have 4. That's not in a great position because then the red are going to come together. Like, you have to do something, and you have to maybe worry less about these color lines and just try to find a good alliance. That's all you need to do. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be, again, I compared it to your hometown a few weeks ago. Like, it feels like this is like your hometown friends where you're stuck with them out of necessity. But when you get to college, you can kind of choose your own friends.
Yeah.
The college friends last longer for a reason because you actually choose them and you understand more. I can't understand just literally staying with the people that you were initially picked to be with. There's no rationale there outside of luck. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, you saw Christina kind of bonding with Shannon. So that's different tribes. That's yellow and that's red. And they kind of had and Christina said, you're not going anywhere. And that was before the challenge started, but she's like, we're not voting you out. So she wants to obviously work with her a little bit, at least keep her for 1 vote. I don't know Sage. I don't know how good Sage is with any of the Hina players. I know Steven kind of took to her a little bit, but I mean, it could very well be.
It might have just been being nice. I think right now Sage just kind of weirds them all out in deserved fashion. She talks about the blackhead thing, which I didn't even know was possible to do. Again, it just seems like one of those people that's like, look how weird I am. They do just something absolutely weird to be a part of their personality.
It was right after Steven was like, hey, I'm good with Excel spreadsheets. And then she's like, yeah, I like putting, it was just very strange.
Exactly. So remember how we talked about how Shannon's performative with her faith and spirituality and all that fun stuff? Yeah. Sage is the same way with your weirdness. She just can't be self-aware enough to realize it. But that's how I was getting. No. We'll circle back in a second. I just want to talk about the eventual vote here. Again, tribal, super boring, very obvious. Yeah. The only thing that jumped out to me was neither Jason or Matt played their shot in the dark, which I thought was, what's the point of it then? If one of you knows you're going out, and I feel like Matt, he's not that unself-aware. Like, he wasn't really surprised he was gone.
No.
Why not play it? I just didn't understand. What are you saving it for at that point?
By the way, Jason correctly said whenever Savannah was like, hey, would you want to just vote out Matt as like a goodwill of faith? And he was like, well, there's really no point. You guys don't need my vote. Let me just play my shot in the dark. It's either me or him. So he was right about that. He was like, it's going to be either me or Matt. But he didn't play a shot in the dark. Now, he did save it. I guess that's if you're into that kind of thing. But like, he could have easily been going home tonight. Like, why not just play it?
I guess Jason can use it next episode, but when's Matt going to use it?
Exactly. Matt's going home. So it's like, it was very strange to me where, they didn't need your 4th vote. They had their 4, and then they had obviously Sophie as well as a 5th. So they were actually able to split the votes. They did 3-2, and then obviously it ended up where Jason did end up voting Matt's name. So it was a 4-2-1 vote. But they didn't need that 4th vote from Jason. Jason could have easily played a shot in the dark. Matt obviously should have played a shot in the dark. I don't know if he didn't pick up on the cues that they were sending him at tribal, but they were basically saying, yeah, guys, it's either one of you two. It just depends on how we perceived your threat level and your the way you talk to us. I mean, you saw Jason. He was like, I hope I said the right things, because that's basically all he was hoping. He was like, I don't even know what I said to those guys. I just hope I said the right things to the right people. And then Matt was
I thought that was a terrible line, didn't you? I thought that was a terrible line.
Yes. And by the way, again, if you don't know if it's you or him, then just play your shot in the dark. I mean, it was very strange. Maybe he knew the whole time. I don't know. But I mean, you said it. Savannah was kind of subtweeting like these weird Jason cagey lines. And I was like, if you're Jason, you got to be like perking up a little bit. It's like, is she talking about me? That I'm like so OG Hina. And if that's the case, then why don't you play your shot in the dark if they don't trust you? And it was very strange.
It did not help that they went to the tribe swap and were doing the Hina. What are you doing?
Rizo was like, that's so cringe. They don't like each other. Red and yellow do not like each other. You know that already. So it's just very strange.
But it's the fastest way to isolate yourself anyway, because they didn't like each other before that. And now, again, they're doing this performative thing. And I'll keep saying that word because it's true every time, where, they're doing the chant and whatever. But again, that's isolating yourself. That's showing that, like, we're together. We're against you guys. We're better than you.
Yeah.
It's just the lack of awareness on pretty much every person on yellow outside of maybe MC and Steven. And again, the jury's still out with them because they haven't really had to do anything yet. No. But And I guess Christina as well. So Sophie had the terrible moment where she said,
I'm stock. Oh my god,
she wasn't excited for food.
She wanted
diet food. She's not excited for it.
She wanted
you haven't ate anything. I would be excited with a piece of bread at that point. What are you talking about?
By the way,
Jeff was taken aback, and everyone was taken aback, and deservedly so.
By the way, to say that in front of 2 Kele members who haven't eaten in 7 days. I mean, they don't have fire, they don't have food, they don't have anything, they don't have any like shelter. So it came off very weird. It's like, I try to eat these.
By the way, can you only eat fruit if you're on a diet? Like, what the hell is that about? I'm a big fruit guy. I like fruit. I eat it all the time. I'm not on a diet per se.
No,
like, what kind of comment is that?
Very weird.
It's just again tone deaf. So that's three initially, and then Steven had some tone deaf moments early, and then Christina is just kind of there, and she said some interesting things. So it's just the whole tribe is seemingly out to lunch. So
it was a bad Hina episode. Let's call it. It was a bad episode.
Oh, it couldn't have been much worse. But looking forward now, because I want to do this real quick. Who do you think, outside of the obvious, outside of Sophie and Alex, do you think any of the minority people, so we're choosing from Jason, Shannon, and Sage, can possibly be in a great position the next few episodes?
Oh gosh, a great position. I mean, it would take, I think it's either going to be Sage or Shannon. I don't know which one, but whoever survives.
You think one of them that survives can maybe indoctrinate themselves a little bit?
I think so, because it would take them building trust with that Hina group. It would take them, being in a vote with them. I mean, remember that 4 group of Hina has not been to tribal council yet. So Steven, MC, Christina, and Sophie with an IE have not been to tribal council yet. So they have not had the opportunity to kind of prove their loyalty or show their trust with other people. So they don't really know yet. I mean, we like what we see from MC and Steven. We don't really know yet. So if Christina and Shannon have a nice vote together and maybe they're able to kind of actually build an alliance and kind of blur the tribal lines a little bit, maybe she has some standing there. I'm talking about Shannon, of course. And then Sage, same thing. If Sage is able to somehow kind of mingle with like a Steven and an MC and then maybe pull in Alex, and that's her 4, maybe Sage can find a home there with 1 blue member and Alex, and then Steven and MC who are kind of running the things there with their idol. Maybe. That's the only real path I can see from a Sage and Shannon perspective. For Jason, he's kind of out to dry right now. I think Jason, he needs to survive 2 more episodes, right? Because the merge is usually, 12, I believe? So there's 14.
Yeah, I think the only thing for Jason is to either have Hina win the next 2, or, and here's the big thing here. If one of Steven, MC, or Sophie leaves, those are the people that I perceived he was close with prior to this. If one of them leaves, maybe the light bulb goes off where he's like, okay, there's only 4 of us now. There's only 4 of us. What's the point of me being so loyal to these people? Maybe I can try to get in with Savannah and Nate and try to poke at that Juwan deficiency one more time and try to be an asset for them.
It was just a bad episode from him from a social game standpoint. Like, he really didn't show any signs of mingling with any of those guys, did he? I mean,
Mike, that's my final point. Where is the gameplay? I haven't seen a single gameplay move this entire season. We're 4 episodes in. I haven't seen a single gameplay move. The gameplay move so far is stick with your tribe, and then when there's an opportunity to maybe defect, it was Jason being like, oh no, I like my old tribe better. Sorry guys, like I'm loyal to them. For what reason? Yeah. For what reason? It was
went to college and said, I like my high school folks. Let's hang out with them on the weekend. It's like,
yes, that's exactly what it was. And even worse is, okay, if you eventually have the merge and theoretically there's 5 of you and 5 of the former Ulis, and it's kind of this 5v5 v2, right? And it's that just for sake of argument here.
Sure. Yeah.
You can just go back to those people and say, hey, I had to do this out of necessity. You saw that I was the only one left. I had to do this. There was no choice. I'm still rocking with you guys. You could have went back and they would have understood probably that you were in that position. You can lie. It's Survivor. There's this like overarching theme of the season where you can't make a move because you're you're afraid of upsetting people, which doesn't really make any sense. When you're on the line, you're upsetting yourself if you go home.
No, by the way, the only way that it would make sense is like, oh wow, he backstabbed his own tribe member, is if they were in the majority. Say it was Jason, Matt, and pick 2 other Hinas that they're in the power position, and then Jason was to kind of defect and go and switch and make a big move. That's the only way people would look at him funny. But if you're in a tribe where you only have 1 other of your OG members on your tribe with you, it's you or me. It's a dog eat dog world. I mean, Survivor is outplay, outlast, or outwit, outplay, and outlast. He just had to outlast 2 more people to get to the merge, and then you can obviously explain yourself. Then it looked like he didn't really want to do that. It's just like, hey, I'm falling on the sword, which is not how you play Survivor. Obviously, I mean, this is not a Hina final 6. I'm not going to vote out another Hina member. This is not. I mean, first of all, had they lost one challenge, he would have had to do it anyways. They didn't lose a challenge in that first 3 episodes, but it was very strange. I didn't really understand the story. First of all, the gameplay through 4 episodes, no one's had to really make any moves. It is a lot of stick with your tribe, which I totally get. But if you're in Jason's position, there's nothing else besides voting Matt that you can possibly do. There is no move you could make. I mean, they're a lock 4, so it just didn't really make any sense. His outlook to this new tribe, it didn't make any sense to me. I think he got very fortunate that Matt kind of put his foot in his mouth. If not, I think he would have been going home. And I think
Mike, guess what? They could have looked for idols. Oh wait, no, they can't even do that now. Oh wait, because we've created these beware advantages. And in the episode, I was thinking, we know how these beware advantages work. Could Jason have went to the water well and dug up, knowing that they just lost, someone might have had the advantage in their tribe, dug it up and got the idol? I was wondering if that was possible. Again, I talked about it a few episodes ago, where eventually I think all this beware advantage is leading up to is for when it's shared, someone's going to steal it, play it off, whatever. That's going to happen eventually. At least they're hoping so. And that's the reason they're still in the game. But could you have been Jason or Matt? And it's always by the well, seemingly. Could you have just dug up by the well? I was thinking about that.
I'm with you, but I think that the way that they showed it was like, because I thought for a second Savannah was going to do just that. I thought Savannah was digging it up.
Yeah, I did too. That's why I thought of it.
That's what I thought of it too. Yeah, I was like, oh, maybe this is actually what we said last week might actually happen. She might just take it for herself. But I think because Rizo shared it with everybody, and she now knows that it's Rizo's, and you can't if Rizo's digging up by the well and doesn't see it, he knows somebody took it at that point. At that point, it's like, oh, everyone knows it's by the well. I told my entire tribe, and it's not here. It's like, well, I mean, she saw the map. It said the map is here's the idol. Go take the idol. So she could have easily went to the water and got it herself. She didn't. So I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but it would be very interesting. It would throw a wrinkle into this plan that I think is ultimately why they have it in the game. But no one's taking that bait. And I think that it's too risky to take the bait, because if you do that and people see that you're trying to go for the idol, then you're immediately labeled as a sneaky, and it's pre-merge. So I don't think anyone wants to do it this early, where it's like, do you really even need the idol right now? They're in a power position anyways. They are in a power 4 group. If you're in like the Kyle Camilla, remember last year, Kyle Camilla, last season, that is, they were in the minority group in that 2 against the 5. It was a group of 5, the tribe of 5, and they were in the minority 2. So in that case, yes, you would want the idol probably all to yourself to save yourself. But in this case, she doesn't really even need it. They're in a core 4. She's aligned with Rizzo, so it really didn't make sense. But I did for a second think that that's where she was going. She was going to dig it up and take it for herself, and then ultimately it was just like, hey, Nate's going to watch out as you go take the idol in the water. I don't know why they had it in the water after last episode's sea crate incidents, but that's what they did.
Yeah, because no one gets hurt in Survivor. Didn't you hear last episode? It's totally safe. It's fine.
Yeah, it was
I just miss looking for idols. I really do. I really wish Matt and Jason get to scram around. Maybe one of them actually finds it, and then they're like, oh, who do we throw votes on? The person plays it, all of a sudden they get someone like Nate out. That would have been cinema. Instead, we get a super boring tribal. It's just the season until merge actually happens. And this is my final point. Do you think they should have just merged with all these people? Because I think it would have been maybe a bit more interesting. Maybe you do the 2 immunity necklaces and you do a merge at this point. I think that maybe would have at least created some intrigue, because then you have an equal amount of people, the 662, and then all of a sudden those 2 are probably swing votes in some form or fashion. Maybe someone defects. Maybe all of a sudden, hey, the X tribes don't matter anymore. Maybe that would have happened. At least these possibilities would have been on the table. I think that's how I would have went with it. And now it just feels like we're waiting for that inevitability to happen.
I'm going to be honest. I don't like the merge at 14 people. I think it's just too many people in a
just too many. Yeah,
it's way too many. Because, and here's the thing. It's like you get these voting blocks of like, okay, do we have 8 out of 14 that we need? It's just like, it's total madness. It's a mad scramble. It's like, do we have this locked 8 or 9? It's just too many people. I think in a tribe of 11 or 12, you need 6 or 7 votes. That makes more sense to me. You can actually build some kind of like core alliance there. With when you need 8 votes, it's like, well, Christina and Shannon like each other, and it's like MC and Steven like. It's just too many blocks to even keep up with. I think it's just like it's like a mind scramble at that point. So 14 is too much for me. But also, I think they're going to merge. They usually merge with 12 people, right? So we're at 13 now, right? So one more episode, we could possibly see a merge. The problem is these merges in the new era suck because it's like half the
And
people
then what
get
was the
tribe
point
buffs.
of this twist? Because then you just hosed Matt, and then we'll just say Sage. Then you just hosed them for no reason.
Yeah, they lost a rock draw and they went on the minority 2, and they were not able to ingratiate better than their opposing tribe member.
Right.
So yeah, but in this case, Survivor, the new era history has shown us that they do this weird mergatory challenge where half the tribe gets buffed. So like 6 people are safe, the other 6 are eligible to be voted out in this group of 12, and they all go to tribal, all 12 of them. But 6 of them already have merge buffs, like they're already in the merge, and then the other 6 of them are like up on the table to possibly get voted out, and they still have these like. They all vote though. It's very strange. I don't really like that. I think if you win your immunity challenge, then yes, you are in the merge. Or in the merge, you're already merged. If you're going to tribal as a group of 12, then you are merged. This is like, oh, you made the merge. You get your buff. You're only 11 of you will make the actual merge, even though they're obviously merged at 12. I don't like that at all. But I don't like that.
It feels like the jury thing in Big Brother, where Rachel has to tell everyone that jury is not a checkpoint. It means nothing. It's actually worse. You actually have to like stay around longer. It just is annoying.
Exactly. Yeah. So the merge is like, it's a checkpoint, whatever, but you need to actually start playing the game, and you need to actually have built relationships at that point, or you're going to get picked off at the merge. Because usually the first merge vote is a relatively predictable. It's like, okay, who's on the outs? Who does everyone feel good with voting out? Usually the first merge vote isn't something crazy. So yeah, I don't like the new era merge. So I don't know how it's going to be. If they just go as far as like what they've done the last few seasons, they're going to do this weird, stupid 6 teams. One group's going to earn their way to the merge and get 6 buffs handed to them, and then one of those 6 people are going to win immunity. We saw it with Kyle and Sue, whatever. So I don't like it. And then 6 people are going to be on the chopping block. Just totally, but again, by the way, totally random. Usually they do this mergatory thing where it's like 6 random people compete in a challenge with a bunch of mud against 6 other random people. One group wins and clinches the merge, and then the other 6 people, totally random by the way, are up for elimination. I don't like that. So Jason basically, or anyone on the bottom, has to survive this next episode, and then probably this weird mergatory thing at Final 12. So you basically have to survive 2 episodes to get to the actual merge at Final 11, and then we can start talking about actual gameplay.
Any final thoughts about the next few weeks going forward? Because I think we've exhausted everything on this episode, but any last thoughts on perhaps like the next few weeks of these just weird, annoying tribes that I just don't have much interest in, unfortunately.
I mean, the previews didn't give us much. It gave us a little bit more of this Shannon Sage.
The previews have been bad, huh?
Previews have been bad. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just what we talked about. It's more Shannon and Sage beef, which we kind of already.
Well, I guess the episodes are so.
Exactly, yeah, but they teased that. They teased that in this episode as well. It's like, oh, Shannon and Sage have kind of a beef here, so that's probably gonna be a little bit more of next episode as well. I kind of think that if Hina loses, it'll be, or if Kele loses, excuse me, it'll be one of those 2 Uli women. But I mean, as far as like the actual gameplay, just get me to the final 11, final 12. Get me to the merge, the actual merge, that is, so that we can actually start seeing some gameplay. Because right now it's just tribes. You're voting for your block of 4. I don't like these groups of 6 and 7. If you can get me into a group of 11 people, then you can actually start seeing some moves get made. You pull in a tight 6, you pull in a tight 5. Once we get down to like a final 9, final 10, final 11, that's when you start to see people separate themselves from, okay, this is actually a good Survivor player. Right now, we have just people just voting with their tribes. I mean, heck, Uli went to tribal for the first time last night with Rizo and Nate and Jawan and Savannah. The other 4 Hinas will have to do that.
So ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and Shannon and Sage, they have not been to tribal either. So we're going to at least find out here in the next coming episodes. But right now, again, the last 2 episodes have really given us nothing. We still made 48 minutes in this episode, by the way, talking about it. But they haven't really given us anything. It's just more kind of filler, not filler, but like obvious vote outs. There's no actual like big moves getting made. I mean, I guess this is a big move for us because you drafted Matt with your 2nd overall pick, but it wasn't a big move in terms of he just kind of got shafted. He's on the minority.
He did.
Group.
I mean, he didn't help himself, but at the end of the day, he was in a fine spot and he would have lasted way longer if he was just on the other tribe. And that's what's annoying about this, which again, part of that is Survivor. But at the end of the day, the reason we were able to go so long, because this is like Survivor therapy, because this season in particular is everything wrong with the show right now. And it's just infuriating. So
yeah. So basically my final thoughts are that we had one of our top draft picks, in your case, this is really the first time that one of the top picks off our board are actually out. I mean, everyone else we kind of took, Jeremiah, Annie, and whoever else I'm forgetting went out early. But I mean, Sage is still here, I guess. But
I'd say the rest of our top picks. So you had Nate, you had Savannah, and you had Alex, and I had Sophie and Rizgod. Yeah. I think if we did it again, those would be 5 of the top 6 picks. I think that's like on the money. It was
I
just
think
Matt. I
again,
thought he was a perennial GOAT, and I think he could have been easily. But again,
yeah. By the way, I took MC after the first episode where she had no confessionals. I would have taken MC much higher now.
Yeah, I was going to say MC would probably have been my second pick, but I think
Right.
the rest would have been the exact same. I think it would have been Nate, Sophie, Savannah, MC, Alex, Rizgot in some sort of order.
We largely
I think that is clearly like the top tier right now. And yeah, we largely had it on the money.
Shannon was I think one of your last picks, and then Sage obviously went undrafted, so they're kind of on the outs. I mean, we kind of got it largely right, but Matt is the first.
And we got this right without knowing, like, for example, Matt was kind of, no pun intended, a shot in the dark pick because I thought he had great GOAT potential. But again, we did this after one episode, but even more so because that episode was so Kele, I can never freaking pronounce it. The Blue Tribe. It was so prominent on them. We didn't really know anything about the other tribes at all. No. So the fact that we kind of were able to nail this without having much of any clue of what was going on whatsoever, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah. By the way, I think I was on one of the threads here. I don't know if it was Sam or whoever it was that said it, but it was like, we got a Sophie confessional today. Not our girl from Kele, Sophie, the one with IE. We actually got a Sophie confessional. Not the Jeff challenge, the question of the challenge, but she actually got a confessional. So they're actually talking to her now. She got a confessional. So it's like we're picking up. At least we're figuring out yellow. We didn't really even get many confessionals from the Hina tribe. The first few episodes, we really didn't know much about Jason, Matt, Christina, and obviously Sophie barely got any confessionals. So, and MC, same thing. So like we're finally getting a little bit more of that tribe or those people from that tribe. So we're figuring things out now. But after that first episode, we really had no idea. Really, the first few episodes, other than Kele, other than Blue.
I just want to say, Steven as a 6th round pick, looking like the steal of the draft right now. That looks like the steal.
It was a great buy low spot because he had a really bad first episode, but we both kind of figured he's got the makings of a guy who can kind of like an Andy, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. There was bounce back potential with him where there wasn't with a Annie, a Shannon, a Sage. Yeah.
No, yeah, there was an early paranoia for him, but we kind of knew he'd find his footing eventually. MC, I would obviously take it much higher. But we didn't see much of Hina in the first few episodes. That's really what can you do? But we largely did nail it, so that's good on us.
Yeah, we'll do a check-in in a few weeks here, maybe with like 8 or so left. We'll see how we're looking. But if you haven't already, make sure we've already posted over 4 hours of content on the Eastern and Western Conference previews. Unbelievable work from us. We've been grinding that out. We are coming up on the final part of our 3-part series on the NBA season preview with an awards prediction as well as just kind of finals chatter and bigger picture stuff for this NBA season. And then, of course, we'll be back next Thursday with another Survivor recap. We're probably going to mix in some football in there. The Jays got a big win yesterday. So baseball is, there's a glimmering hope. We talk about it eventually. We got to see some more Jays to get Mike's thoughts on that. But as I mentioned, football will be back in the rotation. And then it'll be football, basketball, and Survivor every week. So that'll be fun coming up. But yeah, make sure to check out our other stuff because 4 hours, guys. 4 hours. We did over 2 hours just in the Western Conference. Who's doing nearly 2 hours in the Eastern Conference? One of the worst conferences I can remember, and we previewed out for all your betting needs.
I don't know how we did it. I really don't know how we did it.
I'm going to compile a post later today, like the Guru's bets, the things that we both felt strongly on together, and those will be kind of the Guru's joint locks. I believe we only had one joint lock, but some of the other teams I know we felt pretty strongly about. We're on the same page there. So anyway, a lot going on the Gurus right now. So make sure to follow us on everything, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Mike's doing great work on Dolphins Country as always. Did a great pod the other day talking about how just ridiculous the Dolphin season has been, and I enjoyed that. So if you're a Fins fan, make sure to check that out. But I am X. That is Mike. We will never mess that up ever again. And by we, I meant me. But regardless, we will see you guys next time.